It's our second straight night in Dover, Delaware, and this time around it's the Integrity Octane Series that gets a chance at the Monster Mile. Race number 11 of the Octane Series in 2024, and we're going to be taking to the high banks here in Delaware. Welcome back to the Dover Motor Speedway. This is the Return to Dover 200. Some familiar faces from last night have returned alongside over 20 other drivers registered to go at it all over again. This time the Gen 4 stock cars are the cars of choice. Going to be a completely different driving style to go along with the very same circuit. Welcome back live on FTN. Tonight we will have an FTN double header. Alexander Balder is going to be covering all the action in the Highline Racing League Truck Series, but tonight I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast here in the Integrity Racing League. I'm David Kreutz, producer and commentator, and we hope you enjoy what's coming up next because qualifying's on the way, and a familiar driver from last night, Nick Tarbuck, currently has the pole position, but he's been outdone by Jacob Fife. With 3 minutes left on the board, Jacob Fife is going to jump up to the top of the chart. Still many strong drivers who have yet to go out. Kyle Cooper now going to be on the way as we get through this qualifying session here. Fife going to find himself up at the top by 14 one-thousandths of a second. His quickest lap, a 22.794. Now, Kyle Cooper going to jump up into 11th, and Sam Nieto now going to be on the way. That's the number 2 machine. Still has not put a qualifying time in. 13 drivers have set times so far. Making it 14, going back to John Steele. At the line for Sam Nieto, he's going to move on to his first lap this time by. It looks like at the top of the board, nobody going to change so far. It looks like it's still Jacob Fife. Matthew Thunhorst is going to move up into now 8th, and a driver who stood on the podium last night, maybe hoping to do so once again, now going to be up there in the top 10 of qualifying in his first lap. This second and final, we'll see if he can improve this time by. Across the line there, it's going to be Braxton Deweese who jumps up to the top of the board, and it looks like Dover might just be the number 13's forte. Thunhorst up to second, but it looks like Braxton Deweese, who had himself a podium run last night, second place to Thomas Bresci, maybe a chance to go one spot higher here, and Matthew Thunhorst is going to be put down to third because Ethan Lane just put himself into second, your championship favorite. Now going to be runner-up spot as Sam Nieto moves up to the top himself. Nieto now going to be on pole by 21 thousandths of a second. The number 2 takes it to the top with a 22.688. And now waiting on a few others. Tom Wetmore notably here as the number 51 gets on the way, working down and in. You can see Wetmore sliding it just a bit out of 2, going to keep it straight. And it looks like maybe no improvement on this lap unless he really pushes it through the final 2 corners. Wetmore up top, still trying to get a run out of it, and at the line for the Tube Tech Chevrolet, it's going to be a 23.321. That is good for 18th. Wetmore with that big slide, not able to capitalize, and he's going to end up far back in the running order. Just one more driver to wait on here. That is Blake Cannon in number 27, and Cannon looking better and better the more we see him, and surely a victory is due for this number 27 team, as now it's going to be the Swindell Speed Labs Chevy Impala coming across the line this time by. Final lap for Cannon, and that's a 22.79, good for 5th. Not going to be able to jump any higher, and Sam Nieto in the number 2 looks to have that top spot locked up, and the Miller Lite Ford Taurus drives in. It is Nieto at the top of the board. Cody Smith jumps up to 15th. But it appears that's all he can get in his qualifying run. The number 2 going to grab the pole position, and Sam Nieto going to line up at the top of the board for tonight's event here in Dover. Pole position at the Monster Mile goes to Sam Nieto. Qualifying has concluded. Just like that, qualifying over. We got our grid just about lined up fully, and we're going to figure out who starts where before our warm-up session ends. At the top of the board, Sam Nieto's number 2 is going to have the pole position with a 22.688. Sam's going to be there and just ahead of Braxton Deweese. Braxton may be looking for a chance to finish one spot higher than last night here at Dover. He finished second on Monday. Now it's the Tuesday night tumble, and he's going to be second in the qualifying grid, 22.702. 1:09. Dead heat with Ethan Lane, but it looks like Braxton just a little bit quicker, so Ethan Lane is slotted down to the third, and fourth place is Matthew Thunhorst. Rounding out the top five is Blake Cannon, 1,000th of a second back on Thunhorst, and Jacob Fife, 4,000 fourth from Blake Cannon. He's going to be sixth there in that number 36 machine. Nick Tarbuck is going to be in seventh with a 22.808, and Michael Araya, 100th of a second behind. He's going to be right there in eighth spot. Don Stevenson ninth. Galen Gidman rounds out the top 10. Then from there, you're going to see the 11th spot occupied by Ross Cato. Cato going to be just ahead of Nicholas Ward. The gap between those two, it's only 100th, and the gap between Ward and Bobby Ross is still 100th as well. So Bobby Ross with a 22.881, 13th, and Kyle Cooper is 14th, and Cody Smith is the man that rounds out the top 15. As a result, Brian McFerrin, position number 16. Alan Rawell, the man in 17th tonight, and Chris Schetzler is in 18th, with Tom Wetmore disappointing in qualifying there, 19th, coming off the heels of his first ever FTF Grand National Series victory. Matt Jonas rounds out the top 20, and 21st is then given to John Steele, the final driver to set a lap. 22nd is Bobby Terrell by default due to the iRating system, and Brad Patton not choosing to take a qualifying time this season. He's going to be starting 23rd. Randy Fiash 24th, John Dearvon 25th, and Jim Fife 26th. Eli Cars, the 27th and final driver in tonight's starting grid, the return to Dover 200. Welcome back to the Monster Mile. Some familiar faces, but the Octane-only number 2 of Sam Nieto is at the top of the board. Nieto going to find himself quickest in this warm-up session, too. Ethan Lane going to be side-by-side right now with Jim Fife. You see them now doing battle. It's going to be Lane on the bottom side, Fife right up top. Multi-Groove Racing, we're going to be watching out for whether or not we get a lot of that. Last night, the bottom side seemed to be the dominant group for defense all throughout the race. That's how Thomas Bresci kept his race lead against what looked to be a hard-fought battle. He, Braxton DeWeese, Nick Tarbuck, and Matthew Thunhorst, and 3 of which are in this race tonight. They're coming back for more. Thomas Bresci, he had his one and only opportunity, and he scored the victory. So now the ringers of this series have a chance to go at it. You see Wetmore has jumped up to third in this session. He's quick, just didn't play out well in qualifying, and now having the chance to move back up through the ladder naturally. Not going to be easy by any means, but Wetmore with the speed to do so. Right now dialing himself in as Ethan Lane is there. See, it's Lane second. Finds himself now making it by Chris Schetzler. How's about we take a lap on board with the 54, your nationwide Chevy SS, number 54 of Ethan Lane. Lane right now going to be working it out of the back straightaway and making his way through at a speed of 172 miles an hour before backing into the corner. And these Gen 4 stock cars with a little bit more horsepower, that's what's keeping them just about as quick as what we saw last night in the Xfinity cars in the Integrity Ignite Series. So Dover plays a little bit in the favor of these cars down the straights, the corners, not as much, and especially with the nature of this car, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to keep it under control. The Ignite Series had itself 3 cautions overall last night. First half was very clean, second half a little bit more on the troublesome side, but those cars are a little bit harder to turn around. Minor contact with this package, and you're going to be sent for a wild ride. Sam Nieto once again fastest, and he is at the top of the board for second practice. Your pole sitter gets usurped by 75 thousandths, a buzzer beater lap from Nick Tarbuck. And that's a statement in itself. Tarbuck fastest in second practice, coming across the line in the final 5 seconds. Well, we'll see if the finish of this race is just about as exciting. We went to Bristol a few weeks ago in this series, and we mentioned last night how Dover is somewhat similar to Bristol in a few of its characteristics, namely the banking, and maybe it's as if you took Bristol and stretched it out in size. Well, Ethan Lane and Don Stevens had an exciting fight at the last great Coliseum. It was eventually Lane who got the victory in what was only a last lap charge. Half a mile made all the difference, and as such, it was Lane who got himself his first victory of the season, the first of many already, and he slowly but surely putting himself into the championship mix. Matter of fact, when we talk the championship standings coming in, already Lane has the most bonus points of anyone at 18, and he currently now finds himself fourth in the championship, a total now comes to being points back 91 with only 8 races relative to championship leader Michael Larai, who's run 10. Currently about a race and a half out Ethan Lane is, but at the end of it all, it's going to be very, very even if he continues to have this attendance, which of course has helped him out substantially. Michael O'Reilly going to be leading Nick Tarbuck and Matthew Thunors. Then it's Lane and Stevenson very close to one another. Lane is already fighting with Matthew Thunors for third in the championship race. They're separate by 7 points, and as a matter of fact, there's a chance for Lane to gain second in the title tonight because Nick Tarbuck is only 10 points ahead of that number 54. Now, Tarbuck starting a little bit further back. Red hot start for that number 4 crew, but been a little bit cooler ever since. Maybe a chance to get back up there tonight because he had a lot of speed on Monday. Maybe a chance to make it 2 good nights in a row for that 29 crew. Finished just off the podium last night in 4th. Maybe looking for a little bit more tonight as Sam Nieto is set to lead the field to green. Braxton Deweese looking for a chance at redemption. Sam Nieto, he's got himself in the race lead, looking for his first win at 2024. Green flags out. Welcome back to the Monster Mile for the second night running. Braxton Deweese leads him in a 1. Braxton gets the jump, and it's going to be the number 13 at the top of the board. As such, he's going to be the race leader, and Sam Nieto fades back big. Blake Cannon gets out to a nice start and moves up into 4th. Early going here, 2 laps in. Most drivers going to be single file, and we've organized ourselves just right to get things going here in Delaware. As it stands, it's going to be Braxton Deweese who puts himself at the top of the board, and he's now going to be there with a good margin ahead of his race-leading rivals. Sam Nieto going to be going up to the higher side. Ethan Lane gets by, and for Lane, hasn't got much a chance to show the qualifying muscle as of recent, and now starting up at the front of the field early. That's a huge deal for him because he's going to be able to jump up there into the lead battle that much quicker. We've seen him drive through with the likes of Brad Patton before, but it's never easy when you come from the back of the field. It's much, much simpler, the process to get up to a high-quality position and fight for the race win when you start there to begin with. So, coming across the line here, Ethan Lane making waves, and 5 laps in at a 200. He is there already looking at the back bumper of Braxton Deweese. Looking a bit further back, you also see now Galen Gidman going to be right there with Nick Tarbuck. Out of the inside line, can't quite get anything out of it there. Nick Tarbuck going to keep on defending. That bottom groove being used as the defensive lane for the majority of tonight. If you have the bottom groove, you really do not want to slip off. Looks like for a lot of these drivers here, that's going to be the biggest priority, keeping the bottom side rolling. And you can see there Ethan Lane with a quick pass down and low. He's going to go to the inside line and immediately get that top spot. Braxton Deweese going to try to switch him back here with some momentum. Not enough off the corner, and he's not going to get the chance to take that lead once again. Ethan Lane gets through, and he is the driver at the top of the board already. 7 laps in, out of 200. Just like that, it's Ethan Lane who finds himself in control. Nice move there. It's like already playing up to the top of the board. maybe trying to get a chance to gain that second spot in the championship. Matthew Thunor's going to find himself in 4th, Nick Tarbuck in 7th. 10 spots in terms of points. 10 points separate 3 drivers, and the championship spots could shuffle big if Ethan Lane gets out with an advantage tonight. Maybe going to be a championship race within 80 points if Lane continues the way he has so far. But 8 laps in at 200, making it lap number 9. We are in the early going, so by no means is this indicative of what is next. However, a long time coming from here, and the drivers are going to figure out more and more what they need to succeed lap after lap, and we're going to look perhaps at some green flag strategies. So far, every driver going to be running nice in order. You see the lead pack's not going to be anything crazy. Further back, more of the same. Single file for the most part. And you see maybe Brian McFerrin now going side by side. Chris Schetzler and Michael Lariah there too. Lariah, your points leader, going to get a little bit lost out there, and he's going to be shuffled through. Looks like it's going to be a train that goes right by him on the bottom side, and Michael getting sent back into 20th. Number 44, not liking it right now, and it looks like he's going to drop back as a result down to the bottom step of the top 20. We'll see what he can do from here, as even Brad Patton getting by, and Patton from the back of the field in 23rd. 4 spots so far, has not been easy to make it up. Track position, such a big deal here at Dover. For Patton, who's been oh so good at pulling this strategy off, it looks like for now he's having some initial struggles. And we'll see how well Patton pulls it all together later in the race. Cody Smith right now finds himself there with Don Stevenson. Now it's going to be Smith in 11th. Found himself 15th in qualifying. Chris DeWeese in the chat room, thank you for stopping by. We've just gotten started here in Dover, and as it stands, Jacob Fife is the driver who just moved up to 5th. Multiple drivers battling with him, but it looks like Fife will hold them off. Galen Gidman now going to be up into 7th. Nick Tarbuck going to be position number 6. And it looks like Sam Nieto all the while is falling back into 8th from the top of the board. Pole position hasn't treated him so well so far, but there's a lot of time left, so no reason to panic if you're the number 2 team. I think right now just getting accustomed to the track and familiarizing oneself with the racing environment's the way to go. And you see that at the bottom side. There goes Don Stevenson. He has just made his move, and Cody Smith now going to be neck and neck there with the 2 of Sam Nieto dropping in quick there for the number 18 and Level Racing number 18 team now inside the single digits with Nick Ward putting some pressure on Sam Nieto. Nieto now outside the top 10. So all of a sudden, a little bit more trouble there for the 97 crew in regards to getting by Sam, but he got there. And now Sam is fading back even more. It makes you wonder, short-term versus long-term speed. Who's got it for longer time and who's got it for a lap or two quick? Because right now, Sam Nieto, he's dropping back badly. I think at this point, if anything of that drop back was calculated, we've passed that point. I don't think he'd like to be losing any more spots than he has already. Sam finding himself in 12th. Gonna find Ross Cato on his back bumper here. And you see Ross, you see also Kyle Cooper coming up. And it could be side by side quick. And that it is, the number 12 looking to the bottom. Ross Cato going to find himself now making a move into 12th. Kyle Cooper going to move into 13th, and Sam Nieto down even further to 14th. And of all the drivers so far, perhaps the biggest loser in terms of position, and Nieto still struggling here with Bobby Ross going right up there on him, and Brad Patton has caught up to your pole sitter. Maybe not in the way he imagined he would earlier, but Patton now up to 15th, and he's made up 8 spots so far, looking to make it number 9 here. And he does. Brad up to 14th, and it looks like it's a change for both drivers here. Nieto from the front of the field is getting sent back, and Brad Patton from the tail end is now looking for even more position. Sam trying to get it back up there on Chris Schetzler, but no luck so far. Patton eyeing up Kyle Cooper as the number 73 is right in front. That's the all-white Buckeyes machine. And now a chance for Cooper to fend off Patton, but we'll see how much longer that lasts. Patton tends to be one of those drivers that's very hard to defend upon because he's a little more calculated, knowing how to start at the back of the field. Most other drivers, I don't think they plan to start all the way in the back, and it might be a little bit of an advantage right now for Patton to have that knowledge because as it stands, getting to know what it's like to work in dirty air, have to fight through the field, work with tires that might wear out a little bit easier. And as such, it's an early advantage right now for that number 7 having to work with the rest of the pack. And you can see the Budweiser 7 looking just about a lane lower. And maybe a chance here to slide by, but just hasn't gotten it to work so far. Up at the front of the field, Alan Rowell going to be 1 lap down. A quick look at your front runners. Looks like Ethan Lane gets away nicely, and no other news up at the front. Brad Patton has gotten by Kyle Cooper. That's the move for 13th. Ross Cato now next up on the agenda, and maybe going to be another simple pass as well, but Cato is also catching up to Tom Wetmore, and be an opportunity here to make a move, but Wetmore's also had a very good run so far, gaining 8 spots from 19th on the grid, now going to be in 11th. And though not a strong result on the qualifying charts, Wetmore is there, making it almost up into the top 10 already, and with room to spare for the rest of this race, maybe Wetmore's got it in him for a top 10 performance. You just have to get by Nick Ward or any one of the drivers ahead of him right now, and it looks like they're all lined up in single file fashion. One driver is keeping it exciting though, Patton. Brad going down to the bottom side once again. Brad Patton at the line. He's got it there, looking low and slicing under. Quick move, a good move at that. Brad Patton makes it up into 12th. Ross Cato trying to look under here, maybe a chance to get the run, but he will not have what it takes. Inside the top dozen, Brad Patton from the tail end has made his way through half the field. Tom Wetmore would be up next here, but we got to see what Wetmore can do with this leg of the field. A little bit more contentious here. You see Galen Gidman, Cody Smith, Don Stevenson, and Stevenson now finds himself in 7th here. That 47 working down to the middle of the bottom side. It looks like middle low. Not up there in the center of the track, however, not running all the way down to the apron. And a little more conservative right now, not trying to risk his equipment. Galen Gidman is going to do a very similar process as he goes through each and every turn, and Cody Smith maybe a little bit further down to the bottom side, but nothing too crazy in regards to the differences. Nick Ward going to find himself now just on the tail end of this fight and make a chance to put himself in it here if there is a mistake. That's going to be the name of the game right now for a lot of these drivers, just waiting for a mistake to come, hoping to get that opportunity to play into their hands. And Schetzler right now running in 17th. He might not be up in front, but of course, gotta wait here. Biding your time is a huge deal at Dover. And with every driver now running just about their own race, it's all about patience. See right now, the number 24 of Schetzler going to be all but gone from Sam Nieto's back bumper. Going to be more about letting the time pass by naturally and hoping to see what you can get as the race goes on. Matthew Thunhorse now going to be down at the bottom side on Jacob Fife. Fife defended well. He was up there in the 4th, but it looks like now not a chance to keep it. And Matthew Thunhorse is going to take it back just like that. Fife running comfortably inside the top 5 until that point, but maybe Nick Tarbuck going to change that as well. Nick now going to find himself right behind another championship rival, and it looks like it's that number 80 hoping to get away. Thunhorst and Nick Tarbuck separate by only 7 points coming into this race, and separate with Ethan Lane by only 10 points. So it's very, very tight between these two drivers, but they know their overall championship competition. He's leading the way right now and getting those laps led, and is due to lock up the laps led bonus point if he keeps it up. It's going to be tricky to beat that. Of course, when you're not up in front, there's really little you can do, and these drivers aware of that have decided to keep themselves battling as a result. You got to keep on fighting for the positions at your disposal. And right now, not as many as they'd like are there, but you got to work with what you have is up in front. Ethan Lane's been battling with lappers, really no other competition for him. He's gone up top, he's working it down low, trying some different lanes and getting some new approaches in, but overall experimenting right now since he has the room to do so. Lane not concerned in the slightest here. 35 laps in at a 200. Dive down to the bottom side once again. Ethan Lane, he has it by a second and a half. Nick Tarbuck is also very close here on Jacob Fife once more. Matthew Thunhorst, who got by, of course, made that move seem easy, but Nick Tarbuck now wanted the chance to get through and get Jacob Fife out of the equation. Fife's going to be in the middle of this sandwich here. He's got two of your championship protagonists right in the mix. There goes Fife. Now it's going to be number 4 machine getting right there with them. Let's see what Nick Tarbuck can do as we ride on board now, as he's going to be fighting to get into 5th. Jacob Fife going to be up on the top side here, and Nick Tarbuck right down low, side by side. A similar battle happening just beyond this confine. It's going to be Brad Patton coming up on Don Stevenson and Nick Ward. So we got side by side throughout, and you look further back, it's the number 7 Relentless. That's Patton up in the 10th, and now Don Stevenson looking to make the move to defend himself. It would be a move up to 9th if Patton can get by, and Brad, with a chance to do so, goes down to the low side. He's decided to make it a clear-cut path on the bottom groove, and that is the move into 9th for Brad Patton from 23rd under green in 40 laps of racing. 6 seconds off your leader. However, he has been lap over lap quicker than everyone besides the drivers inside of the top 4. Looks like he's just about as quick as Jacob Fife and the like. Just like that, Patton with another position made up. How about that? Nancy Wetmore joining a little bit late, but so far not much has been missed on the track. We've gotten ourselves to a nice and easy green flag run. Great to have you here. Tom Wetmore running in 11th, and he was at the heart of the battle just a few laps ago. You see Ward there with the 97. Ward staying in the top 10. Brad Patton from the back of the field. He was 23rd for him in qualifying, has made it up to 9th. Under green. That's the quick race recap. Ethan Lane has led from the jump, with the exception of Braxton Deweese, who took the lead into turns 1 and 2, but that never materialized for anything long term. Lane has been the man so far, and 41 laps in, I think that's just about going to remain the same here until the checkered flag, unless there's a major shift. But right now, I don't see any reason to believe there will be one. Matthew Thunhorst and Nick Tarbuck are once again together, and now Tarbuck is ahead of the number 80. Maybe now Matthew Thunhorst with a little bit of rebuttal. We'll see if he can get that speed up and make a pass. Nothing yet so far, though, for the 80, and Jacob Fife is still there. Fife in that number 36 machine, just a bit outside of this battle. About a 10th and a half off of the number 80 machine, so nothing in regards to diving down and making an aggressive move, but certainly good weight in the wings here when all is said and done. Blake Cannon comfortably 3rd, makes it by Alan Rawell. Rawell the lapper. And we're noticing a very similar race for him compared to what we saw last night. Not a lot of differences. Fell back big time. And he hasn't been running a bad pace. Matter of fact, he's quicker than a lot of the drivers who are in front of him, up to about 18th. He's running in 25th here. So he has pace, but it looks like those starts have been very, very troubling for Rawell at this track. And he decided to be very, very careful, which has cost him a lap or two. However, last night came home with a top 15 finish. Pure attrition. So maybe Allen has a little bit more in him than we think. He gave Thomas Bresci a very, very good battle, so to speak, to get up to him as a lapper last night. I don't think he's all too slow at this circuit, but it looks like the troubles on the restarts really made all the difference in a negative way. Matthew Thunhorse now going to go down to the bottom side, and riding on board with the number 80, you'll see exactly what he's doing inside the cockpit here. Slide down to the bottom, coming up on some lap traffic here. You see multiple drivers you got to keep an eye on, and it's not going to be easy in the slightest. As you see now, number 36 gets a little bit further away. Nothing too crazy. Coming up on Alan Rawell, and just with Rawell, Jim Fife. Well, it's not going to be an easy task here. Looks like Fife is going to go up top. Rawell does as well, and Jim going to let both drivers through. Allen stays just ahead of the number 63, and it goes up to the top side as well. Oh, Fife is not going to have a good run out of the corner, though, so Matthew Thunhorse gets a little bit tighter, but can't quite find the room. Side by side with the lapper of Rawell, and Jacob gets by. So does Matthew Thunhorse, and nothing really changes in regards to their gap to each other. Rawell with a good run out of the corner, and now we're in a bit of a hornet's nest here because this is going to compromise Cody Smith and Galen Gidman. Jim Fife up top. Brad Patton, who does not struggle with finding location, is that trouble with Nick Ward? It almost was, and Jim Fife nearly making detrimental contact with a 97. Tom Wetmore now moves up in the top 10 as a result. And that could have been much, much worse. But Jim Fife right up there with Ross Cato, and luckily no other contact from it. It was a slight dash, not a crash, and everyone gets away nicely. Brad Patton now up to 8th with an opportunity to move up to 7th if all goes well. And this is where it becomes a little bit dicier. You see Brad Patton working down to the inside line. Now he's gotten himself up to a nice spot, but he's going to have to deal with traffic alongside the leaders, which is ever easy, and a situation like this is even more so compounded by the fact that these drivers have to move out of your way at a very narrow circuit. Big, yes, it's a mile long, so it isn't anything of a short track in that nature, but it is narrow, and the banking doesn't help that either. One wrong move and you might be sent all the way down the track, which of course you don't want to see here at Dover. Come back to bite you very, very quickly. Cody Smith getting shot out of line, and looks like he got rattled there. He's going to move back down and in. Smith deciding to go down to pit road here with 150 laps to go, and it looks like he's going to set himself up for maybe one more pit stop for the rest of the way if he tries to go long. 2 more to be conservative. Green flag pit stops are underway, and based on the estimates that we're going to get from last night, lap 65 to lap number 70, those should be the absolute maximum numbers that we're looking at. So overall, we should be expecting about 20 to 25 more laps on this stint at the absolute most. It's going to be a very, very extreme estimate to go that far, mind you, but some drivers, they can do it. Others are coming in right now. There's Chris Schetzler coming down and in this time by. He has himself making a move through, and number 24 Yoo-Hoo machine dropping in. Matt Johnnett's going to do more of the same, and it looks like drivers may be trying not to go all the way on their fuel cell, rather going to be a little bit more conservative and split this race up into multiple parts, which of course makes sense. Now 60-60-60 gets to lap 200. 70-70-70 gets to lap 210. 65-65-65 gets to 195. Now, if this was to be a solid 2-stop race, guaranteed, you'd have to get to about lap number 68 or 69 to even consider it on this first stint. So 66, 66, 66 is 198, and given the fact so far we've been green, that still doesn't seem like a realistic estimate for a successful 2-stop strategy. Ethan Lane, he's going to agree with us there, and he will not beg to differ. He comes in 54 laps in, and so does Nick Tarbuck here. We will be looking at what looks like a 3-stop race, expecting another pit cycle at about lap 105, and our final pit cycle at about lap 20. With the way things are, it looks like it's going to be our first pit cycle underway, and Braxton Weiss in full control. So now Braxton going to find himself up in front. He's there at the top of the board. Blake Cannon going to be second, and Matthew Thunors, he is fourth. No longer he is, as he's going to drop down in. That gives Tom Wetmore the fourth position. Patton just went in. Jacob Fife is going to come through, and so does Bobby Ross. It's an onslaught of drivers, and Nick Tarbuck going to be one of which as well. Tarbuck now going to be on the way. You see there, that number 4 coming off of pit road. Got to be very careful on the merger here. It is not a simple transition. However, you see there, looks like Nick Tarbuck going to be just fine, and he'll let Cody Smith through, getting a little bit of a wider angle at what's going on. And there's Jacob Fife in 36, just barely beating out Brad Patton. So in all honesty, Patton might be in the top 5 fight for the rest of this race, just based on that incredible first stint and electric performance. And even though he's not fighting for the lead, 23rd up to about 7th, by no means is that an underwhelming run. He put a lot into that one, and it shows. And now he's going to find himself right behind Jacob Fife. Blake Cannon from the lead drops in. Matthew Thunhorst opts to stay out, and Thunhorst now finds himself as the overall race leader. Gidman going to be there with Don Stevenson. Tom Wetmore now second. 59 laps in at a 200. Right now, we're getting through our first green flag pit cycle, and we got to this point in a very solid position. Under green last night. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more of the same. 59 laps at a 200. And the ride on board right now with Galen Gidman, as he's going to face all the traffic firsthand. And Galen Gidman going to drop down and in this time by. You see, he's going to make it through after 60 laps. So Gidman going to go a little bit longer here. He might be able to get away with lap 120, lap 125. Well, the drivers are deciding to go long here, and Matthew Thunhorst might be a driver playing the game with some experience here. We saw him last night in the Integrity Ignite Series, came home successfully with a third-place finish amid a fierce championship battle. As a matter of fact, it was he and Braxton Deweese who were dead even in the championship points coming into the night. Braxton got the advantage because he finished second. Thunhorst finished in third. So Matthew's no longer the Integrity Ignite Series points leader, but he's still a competitor in both series, which is something only he, Braxton Deweese, and, of course, Matthew Thunhorst. He finds himself there in the company of Nick Tarbuck as well. Only those three can lay claim to such a statement. Now, the number 80 finds himself up in front 63 laps in, and knowing that some drivers were planning to go in excess of 75 laps if they really could. Gael Brooks, one example, mentioning it previously, a long pit stop strategy, the alternate method. Some drivers could have done it last night. Didn't play out just right, though, as a result of what occurred, which was, of course, the caution early, which set us back into a much longer cycle of more stint-based racing, short stints. As it stands, you see now, Matthew Thunhorst is still on the way, 64 laps in, and I think if he has 5 more in him, he could go for the riskiest strategy of them all. A lot of other drivers choosing to be comfortable. Thunhorst right now living a bit more on the edge. His lap times have been slow. You can hear what he's doing right now inside the cockpit. Not clutching and coasting necessarily. Matthew Thunhorst is deciding to stay on the pedal, but not putting a lot into it, getting it down to about 132 miles an hour. And relative to other drivers who are going full on right now, that is about 10 miles an hour slower. And now that number 80 machine, well, up in front, but it's a risk. And if it does pay off, could be a chance of the victory straight up. It's a risk reward at the highest stakes here. About a third of the way in the campaign. You see right now, Matthew Thunhorst finds himself up in front and coming across the stripe. There he goes, leading the way 67 laps in. It is tight right now. When it comes down to the timing, 67 times 3, that gets you to just about 200. He could do it. And I think right now he's comfortable to fight for the race lead with a 2-stop strategy. How about that? Tom Wetmore, he's going to come right there with, and so is Don Stevenson. Wetmore Oh, he's going to have an aggressive entry. Was that a penalty? That's the question. Tom Wetmore is going to make up time into the entry of pit road, and we'll see whether or not that's a black flag for the number 51. Wetmore making his way in, and he is going to come in hot as ever. Wetmore makes a big gain. Don Stevenson holding off very nicely as well, so he's got himself up there in a nice position. Just like that, 68 laps in at a 200. And coming out of pit road, we'll see who makes it through first. Wetmore, no penalty. He'll be good to go. Sam Nieto's going to inherit the race lead. Nick Tarbuck now going to find himself fighting inside the top 5. And coming out right now, you see Wetmore has just about gotten there. It's a car length between him and Matthew Thunhorst, and your two stoppers have just gotten things going. 69 laps in out of 200, and it's a very nice run so far for Sam Nieto, but he was far back, and now I think he's going to super stretch it. Maybe this was all planned. He fell back big, now finds himself leading, and he's up there with a wide margin. An opportunity to really get the advantage over the rest of the pack. And now the number 2 machine goes up high, and we're right on board with Sam Nieto here because he's playing the longer game than anyone else. Cautions out Don Stevenson, who made such gains, spins, and we are under yellow for the first time tonight, 71 laps in out of 200. And that is a twist, a big one at that. Caution is out. Let's take a look back. Don Stevenson, who was third of the drivers on the 2-stop strategy, he caught a piece, and let's find out why. Coming off of the corner, Blake Cannon contact, and it's as simple as it gets. With this Gen 4, just easy to make that rear end contact a wreck. Luckily, no major damage. Stevenson going to scrape the wall. Doesn't look like anything major cosmetically, but overall, Stevenson going to lose a lot of track position, and he's going to be caught out big as a result. Yellow flag is out, and now right there as Sam Nieto opts to go down and in from the race lead. He'll bring Ethan Lane right there with. Lane going for a second stop. A few other drivers choosing to do just that. This should set everyone else up for a 2-stop strategy overall, with this being the first of which from here, 72 laps in at 200. And getting a chance to reset. This will bring up to the front of the field a few of our drivers who made that risk-taking maneuver work out. See Matthew Thunhorst in 14th right now, Tom Wetmore 15th. Eventually, they're going to have a chance to cycle up because the drivers ahead of them, with the exception of Michael Lariah, who seems to be in a completely different strategy. They're all on much older tires. Lariah, however, is up there inside the top 5 on brand new rubber. Sam Nieto, same deal, and it looks like he will get his spots back as everyone shuffles back together. Get ready for our first restart of the day. Now it's going to be Brad Patton coming in this time by from the race lead, and he finds himself there making it through. He got up from the back to the front on that stint, and of course now going to have to come down to pit road, but still a very impressive performance. Just like that, Blake Cannon is going to be putting himself back on top. Cannon involved in that incident, but unfortunately not much else came of it for these drivers in terms of strategy. Not a big shuffle. It was not going to be the most exciting of which. Most drivers got their pit stops done and done. The question marks more so lie on who can make their way up from here. It looks like a lot of drivers getting a free pit stop here. Sam Nieto, Ethan Lane, Braxton Deweese, Cody Smith, Nick Tarbuck, Nick Ward, Michael Lariah. Maybe difference here. All about what we saw from Lariah, Ward, Tarbuck, and the company from the bottom up. They get this extra pit stop. They're on a level playing field and maybe a slight advantage compared to Thunhorst and Wetmore and all those who decide to go a little bit longer. All of a sudden, it looks like the short stop was the way to go. And right now, Blake Cannon on a 14-lap stint has decided to keep himself out. Perhaps this works. Perhaps this doesn't. We'll see if he chooses to stay out this time by as we will organize ourselves once again for the first restart of the night. 73 laps in out of 200. You're watching the Integrity Octane Series, and we have made our way through, and so far running strong We're going to come across the stripe once more. One lap to go, no longer. Going to be just a little bit more time. And if you're watching both broadcasts live on FTN, we got the update. We should be starting our Highline Racing League Truck Series coverage momentarily. Season finale and series finale at the Michigan International Raceway. And apologies for getting that coverage a little bit later than we anticipated. It's 9:36 Eastern here. We should have had that broadcast going. However, you haven't missed any racing action. They're still in qualifying. If you want to watch both events, they'll both be on at the same time here, live on FTN. We are double file and just about to get going racing once more. It is the Swindell Speed Labs top of the board. It is the 27 of Blake Cannon. He is there, and he got himself the pole position for this restart. We'll see how important that is for him as coming across the line this time through. It's going to be Cannon and Sam Nieto, 2x2. One lap to green. We'll go back at it at lap number 76, and all the additionals of the field have come back together. You see there, lead lappers like Michael Laraya, Chris Schetzler, and a few others here are still getting organized, but they're figuring things out here, and it looks like Dunhorst and Tom Wetmore, they're going to find themselves in a tricky position back of the field compared to where they were before, up in front, gaining spots. All of a sudden now, it looks like those who stayed out for less time got the biggest benefits of them all. iRacing official pace car going to let these drivers loose once again. It's the Swindell Speed Labs, number 27 of Blake Cannon, Sam Nieto, Ethan Lane, Braxton Deweese, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cody Smith going to find himself rounding out in 5th. Here we go again, dropping down to the inside line. The iRacing official pace car will let the 27 of Cannon let go. Here we go again with the driver of the 27, Sam Nieto on the high side, but Blake Cannon gets the jump and brings us back to green for our, oh, we got a caution already due. Is it Bobby Ross spinning? Do we get a yellow flag for that? Everyone gets by, but Ross is going to slide, and it looks like no caution. Bobby Ross is going to slide in the Sprint PCS 45 at the back of the field. We stay green. Single car incident. Nothing else happened. It looked like someone else might have gotten involved. Not the case. At the line, Cannon's the man who leads us through. Cannon in first, Ethan Lane in second, Braxton Deweese in third, and Sam Nieto in fourth. Cody Smith going to be position number 5, and Nick Tarbuck then in 6th. Single file right now up in front. And how about we take a look on board now and Nick Tarbuck and see exactly what's going on. Nick Tarbuck can now be in the middle of a 2x2 battle. Brad Patton gonna slice in quickly, and you see there the ambition of the number 7 machine. Well, he hasn't lost it in any means, and you see him there now trying to come into the mix again. It's the Budweiser number 7 locking in yet again. Side by side, they're gonna be at the front of the field, and Brad Patton has decided to show him whether he's in the front or the back, he can pass with ease. Another quick move there, and it looks like Patton is now hounding Cody Smith and Ethan Lane. All the while, Blake Cannon gets away, and that number 27, well, he's up there up in front, 80 laps in, doing a real good job of it so far, and I think right now it's the advantage in his favor in that number 27. He's got total control, and I think he likes just that. Brad Patton now going to find himself up to third, Cody Smith in second, and a different outlook at the front of the field. Braxton Deweese going to be 8th, Sam Nieto dropping back to 9th, and maybe replicating the strategy we saw previously Notably, Tom Wetmore up into 11th, so he's gotten himself back into a solid position. I'm sure he doesn't like what happened. Of course, the caution coming at about the worst time for the number 51 team, but not the worst of circumstances just yet, and Wetmore with a chance to still redeem himself as Cody Smith is passed by Brad Patton. How about that? Brad Patton and the number 18 machine is going to be passed quick by that number 7. How about Brad? He's made the move again, and he has gotten himself up in front. Second place. 7 is on top of things, and you can see, well, no doubt, he's about the most aggressive driver in this field week in, week out when it comes to making these moves from the start to finish. It's a tricky game what Brad Patton plays, has not made a qualifying lap all throughout this year, and for him, that's been the extra challenge, making it up through the field and driving through the speed he has, even if he might not be as quick in the sense as a driver like maybe Ethan Lane you might think of as a very fast driver to get up there. For him, Brad Patton, it's very procedural. You see, he takes a lot of time to get these things moving, but there's a lot of time in these races, hundreds of miles as a matter of fact. So for Brad, there's really no rush. You just got to do it right. And right now, less than halfway into this event, that's exactly what you're seeing, and that's why Brad Patton now finds himself second on the board. Of course, not qualifying comes with its setbacks. If you got cut up into a very early incident, there's really nothing you can do. And as a result, of course, you find yourself far out of a good point stay. But running up in front right now, that is a testament to the speed and the skill that Brad possesses. And if you look off the backside of Blake Cannon here, you'll see he's getting much closer. Side by side now, the number 7 machine looking to the bottom side, and Brad Patton now going for the race lead. He slices under and takes the top spot immediately. Brad Patton, as soon as he looked for it, he got it, and 87 laps in, it's the number 7 machine all the way up to the top. From 23rd on the grid up, he's the hard charger right now, and he's your new race leader. Patton to the point here in Dover. Further back, you see now, Jacob Fife's going to be coming across the line with Ethan Lane. Furthermore, you see Nick Ward is up in a 5th. Not at all a bad run so far for the driver, the number 97. It looks like so far, Ward running just about as well as he possibly can, getting back up there. He was shuffled out of the top 10 after a little bit of a rattling motion from he and Jim Fife getting some contact, but all's well right now, and you can see Lane right there again. It's the driver, the number 54, Lane, who tries to look right under yet again. See there, Ethan slicing through, making it by, and maybe trying to take the spot for certain. He's got it under. Now he's got the pass for certain, completing the maneuver. Jacob Fife finding himself now in 6th. He gets by the number 97 as well. Nice moves overall for these drivers who are making their spots quickly. And as such, Braxton DeWeese is going to be right up next. Braxton in 10th, maybe trying to catch up to Tom Wetmore. Wetmore has put himself back up in the single digits. Still on that rebound run here to maybe finding himself back up in 6th or 7th when all are said and done. Cody Smith now going to be up there with Blake Cannon. And getting passed by the 18. It looks like a new order for your top 3. Same drivers, but they have shifted in position. Patton from 3rd to 2nd to 1st. Cannon the opposite direction from 1st to 2nd to 3rd. Cody Smith still in 2nd, but he's been passed once. He's gotten the pass once. He's overall still the runner-up man, even though the drivers around him have switched up quite a bit. It's good to be consistent. And for Cody Smith, it's a big deal. Looking for an opportunity to get the race victory here, and we haven't seen one from him ever since late 2023. That thrilling finish at Kentucky. He and Nick Tarbuck in the Night Series, and that's really where he came alive in that final opportunity to get a win, thousandths of a second, 2,000ths as a matter of fact. He won. Tarbuck, oh so close. Now Ethan Lane going to be right there at the line with the number 4 of Nick Tarbuck. And Ethan decided to drop it down to the bottom. You see there, the chrome, number 54. Gets the pass, and Ethan Lane makes do, getting to position number 4. And he's got now Blake Cannon right on top of him. Cannon at the high side. Gonna let him go quite easily there overall. No trouble. It's Ethan Lane up to 3rd. Jacob Fife is going to be position number 5. And maybe an opportunity to slide inside of 4th. if, of course, things come to him here. The Pro Powder and Paint Chevrolet, very, very near Blake Cannon's back bumper, but no major contact, and as long as there's no trouble, the battle will continue. Fife not making anything too risky, and all stays the same. Jacob Fife right now, 95 laps in, and he holds himself just behind Blake Cannon. You'll see right there, the number 27 machine going to go down to the defensive line, the bottom line. And he chooses to use that, and it looks like now it is his. The Swindell Speed Lap number 27 gets it right down under yet again, and it looks like that's been the consistent move every driver's tried for defense, but it doesn't quite work here. Jacob Fife makes it by, and as such, he's now going to find himself just a position out of the podium. Ethan Lane is going to be in third now, and it looks like he just got it through. Blake Cannon has fallen back, and Lane is now in. The question becomes, with about a second and a half to gain, can Ethan Lane get up there to Brad Patton and maybe go for the race lead? He was about a 0.2 of a second margin quicker that time by. That's just one lap, though. We'll see if that's an isolated example or if you can keep on gaining here. That is the big question. For Lane right now, it looks like that nationwide number 54 is still making some time. The gap is slightly shrunk, and Cody Smith, while not as quick as Lane, appears to be quick as well, quicker than Brad Patton. Up to the top side, John Steele's going to go, and it looks like he remains there. A little quick pass for the race leaders, not much trouble there, and 98 laps in. It looks like now, coming up on lap traffic again, Brad Patton might be the man due to lead us to the halfway mark. "99 laps in, coming up on the triple digits right up next, and the driver who started with no qualifying time as your leader at the halfway point. How about that for Patton? He is now going to find himself overall at the top of the board by 9/10. However, Cody Smith is gaining, and so is Ethan Lane. However, not major that time by, only a 1/10 of a second, and it looks like a little bit less this time through as well. 100 laps on the board here, 100 still to go, and the return to Dover 200 has got to the halfway point with only one caution so far, and Chris Schetzler down and in after 47, so he'll come in early, decide not to go for a stop under yellow, and a quick pit stop down and in for the 24 as Brad Patton gets across the line again. And now into the second half of this race, you have to wonder what's up next for the field. Most likely, one pit stop for everyone. I don't think we're going to see two for the entire field here. However, one seems to be absolutely necessary no matter what driver strategy you are going to be working with. The driver you are, of course, top to bottom, the positions, the strategies. I think one pit stop has to be made. Two, that's when it becomes questionable. 30 laps in so far for the drivers who are on this brand new stint. However, you're going to go maybe 30 laps more at the most. If they go 40 laps more, that brings them down to 59 to go, and they'll be fine. If they go 30 laps to go, that'll bring down to 69 to go. And they'll be capable of doing it, but it's going to be a risk as well. Maybe it's going to be all about going 35 more laps, and that would bring us down a little bit more to about 63 laps to go. 63 laps, that's a feasible number if you hit your marks right. Cautions out, Kyle Cooper, and it looks like pit strategy just shifted once again. Cooper, the first caution of the second half. Here's a look back at what happened. The 73 goes around, and quickly things have changed. And Cooper with a little bit there of a wiggle with Don Stevenson, ends up down and in, and that light contact did not seem like all too much, but that will lead drivers toward trouble immediately. Doesn't look like it's anything crazy, but not easy to recover from, and as such, Don Stevenson going to be involved here. Here's a look back one more time, and you'll see exactly what caused it. And you'll see there, no contact with Don Stevenson after further evaluation. So that was just a wiggle and getting loose, and avoiding Stevenson ended up being the cause there. Stevenson seeing it all, but not getting involved. The caution is out. Yellow flag out again, 97 laps to go, and we gone about 30 laps on that stint. So a lot of your leaders are going to come in this time by, and it is a huge onslaught. This would set us up for one more pit stop from here. Cannot make it from this point on. We're just too early. So it's going to be a different look. Find out what happens. Brad Patton across the line, going to be the leader. Then Ethan Lane with Cody Smith. Jacob Fife fourth. Then Nick Ward, Nick Tarbuck, Sam Nieto, Braxton Deweese, and Tom Wetmore. Rounds out the top 10 with Lariah 11th, Matthew Sunhorse 12th, Blake Cannon 13th, and Galen Gibbon then in 14th. So with that being said, looks like a lot of your usual suspects get up in front once more. I don't think there's any real outliers. Maybe you could say Sam Nieto staying up there inside the top 10. He's been very relaxed on these early runs as opposed to going for an all-out movement to, of course, make things happen, push, push, push. But a little bit more about waiting for the long term, and like that, most part, calm from this point onward. Of course, maybe being too relaxed is a problem in itself. A few drivers coming down a pit road here. But Sam Nieto still has a lot of time to kick it into high gear and look for a chance to go for that race victory. But spent about 100 laps, what looked to be about 80-85%, and he fell back, got back up to the race lead, and Cycle helped him out big time. The caution, an opportune time, and as such, Sam Nieto not in a bad placement to go for the rest of this race and succeed from here on out. I wouldn't count him out by any means. Not going to be easy race for him, given the competitive nature of the front of the field. It is by far still a wide open race. So we'll see what can be done from here. The Budweiser number 7 up in front, Ethan Lane in second, and Cody Smith in third. That's the 1, 2, 3 order that come through and returned it over 200. Good so far as the front of the field is getting ready to go at it one more time. It could be the final restart of the day, but of course, that's always an unknown as it stands. Set to get at it this time by with about 93 laps to go. That looks to be the estimate on the table. And we'll be racing once more very soon. "95 laps to go live on FTN as we come across the line here. It looks like it is going to be officially for the iRacing official pace car. You'll get the word right here as we try to go and catch it. The leaders let the lappers go by. So there's Brian McFerrin and the Under Armour machinery. It looks like a little bit of a throwback perhaps to Penny Enterprises. Those colors reminiscent of the number 44 at that time. Whether or not that's the case here for Brian McFerrin. Could be a few paint schemes, but notably the red, white, and blue, and that particular shade of blue, it's reminiscent of that number 44. Additionally here, John Girvon and the Pepsi number 33 going around. As such, 1 lap to green. You see the pace car there. It is going to be our final lap under yellow before we kick it back into gear once more. Time to get back into it. It's going to be Brad Patton up in front. Get moving once more at the top of the board. The number 7, your race leader, but this time he's got Ethan Lane on the same set of tire right beside him. Here we go again. Drivers getting a move on. Green flags out once more, and Patton gets the jump. Brad Patton right now going to be working to the bottom side. Ethan Lane gets the jump quick, and that's what it's like being side by side with Ethan Lane on equal rubber. It's so challenging to keep up with him, even if you're on the level playing field, because Lane knows quite a lot about how it takes to perform at the highest level here in sim racing. We saw him in Road to Pro in 2023. We saw him last year, the Integrity Octane Series and Octane Series, getting a chance to go out there, fight for victories, got a few of which, and now that he's back, he's been just about as successful, if not more so. Now, Braxton Deweese going to find himself working down at the inside line, looking a little bit lower. Nick Ward is going to be in 6th down in the stands with 91. laps remaining. Everyone gets tied up all over again. You see Blake Cannon looking just a little bit more outside. Overall, most drivers have kept it single file, and that is how they roll. Out of the start-finish line again, making it into turn 1, Ethan Lane, a 10th up on Brad Patton. 90 laps remaining. That's the way they all shuffle through. Here's a lap on board from Brad Patton's perspective as he chases down your race leader. Right now, Patton going to find himself still within 2/10, but you see that nice run off the exit there for Ethan Lane. He got real settled in the middle of the corner, and then he got the jump. And just like that, the 54 keeps himself advantageous with 88 laps to go. Coming down to the final half of this race already. First half relatively quick with only 2 cautions in the first 100 laps. And now we're at the point where you got to wonder what is next. Single file for the majority of the field. You see Galen Gidman, Matthew Funnelist, and even Blake Cannon in the mix as well. And for a few drivers, we've seen them up and down the order. It's been all about shuffling throughout maybe the top 10 or sometimes the top 5. Jacob Fife has been in the bottom half of the top 5 for most United fields, and now he's going for it once again. A pass on Nick Tarbuck. He'll go up top. He'll look for it there. Number 4 machine, not much else he can do besides keep it down to the bottom side and hope to keep himself in one piece here, side by side. Looks like Fife has been able to work that middle groove much better than most others in the field. You see the preference to go down to the bottom side for almost everyone here. For Jacob Fife, he's been forced into many situations where he really just can't do that, and it looks like it works out once again. Fife with 3 victories last season in the Octane Series. He got 1 in the Ignite Series this year already. Now, it looks like his troubles have been more in the Tuesday night tour, still without the checkered flag so far in this campaign. However, into third, and we've seen that the biggest strength so far for Jacob Fife has been that versatility, able to make that middle groove work when most other drivers can't. And you see him there, he's using it once again, quicker that time by than both your top 2 drivers, and as such, coming across the stripe yet again, Jacob Fife in a good position to maybe take it up inside of the leading battle and give them something a little bit more, because he's gaining and continuing to make big moves side by side. They aren't right now, but it looks like Jacob Fife is inched up closer and closer, and up next, it's going to be a chance to take that race lead. 83 laps to go. Coming down further and further, the laps have been trickling. Right now, Ethan Lane is your race leader. He's got Brad Patton right there behind him. Jacob Fife now going to be in the mix. Additionally, you see a few battles further out throughout the pack. There's Blake Cannon, Tom Wetmore, Sam Nieto, and Nicholas Ward now finds himself about a 10th back on 5th. Few drivers here have figured things out nicely. It looks like Cody Smith with a little bit of a wiggle, but everyone keeps it straight. And the front runners overall, of course, held up much better than those in the later half of the pack. All 27 drivers who are on the registry list are technically still racing. Jim Fife is 61 laps down and is still on pit road. However, he is technically still with us, and as we pass by pit road here, there he is. He's still on the track. Eli Cars is the final driver, still making laps around. He's in 26th. No retirees so far. The cautions have been minor incidents at most, so we haven't really seen drivers need to disconnect. Everyone is still in it with a fair chance to gain spots no matter what. Now one driver's getting in a little bit of a fight here. That's going to be further on in the back of the pack. That is Matthew Thunhorse with Michael Araya. Now Thunhorse maybe making a move here. Getting down to the inside, Blake Cannon going to take it down on Sam Nieto. And this could be tricky here. There goes Sam Nieto. He's going to go up top. Blake Cannon in the mix there, and you can see him. Cannon makes the move. That is going to be good for 9th. And Michael Araya is now going to be position number 11. Sam Nieto rounds out the top 10, and with 79 laps to go, Ethan Lane coming across to make it 78 remaining. still out in front. And you can see, even though he's close, Brad Patton hasn't quite gained. Ethan Lane right now going to be holding off his competition better than before, better than ever before now. And it looks like Brad Patton, despite getting that speed very, very high up there just a few laps prior, getting the run, getting close, hasn't been able to make the pass. And when you catch someone, you got to make those passes quick. And right now, the air diffusing back to the number 7 machine has made it that much more challenging. And with lappers on the way, it's going to become much, much trickier here. Taking a look, there is John Hiervon, and he's going to be now just ahead of Lane. Lane goes down to the bottom side, inside for the 54, a quick move, and that's all he needs. Brad Patton now going to find himself running in second and getting by quickly. The lapper, no trouble there, and the lap machines have not caused all the trouble tonight. Matter of fact, very few incidents involving the lapper. We saw Jim Fife was closest in an incident involving Nick Ward and a few others in the top 10 fight, but nothing really came of it. So nothing to discuss on that front. It wasn't a true incident. In all honesty, everyone kept it together, and as it stands, coming across the line, Jacob Fife and the Pro Powder and Pink crew made it through with 74 laps remaining. Nick Ward is there in the 7th spot. Take a ride on board with him right now. Cody Smith just ahead. And you would see there getting bumper to bumper, Sam Nieto getting right ahead there of Nicholas Ward. And 97, close, but not enough coming across the stripe. Blake Cannon right now going to find himself in 10th with Michael O'Ryan 11th. Matthew Thunhorst position 12. Coming through this time by, you can see there, Thunhorst opting to go down to the bottom side. And he made it very close, but nothing much could come of it. Thunhorst now going to find himself barely inside the fight for the top 10. It is Densto, and you can see it. DMG United number 80 is finding himself with some of the best in the business. Blake Cannon, who was previously up there leading this race. Furthermore, Braxton Lewis and Nick Tarbuck. 4th and 5th right now. Looks like Tarbuck has the advantage. Shades of last night's battle. And like they are right through with the leaders again. Jacob Fife is in 3rd, and it looks like although Fife has fallen back yet again, really not much else he can do right now but to watch on as the leaders have gotten by. Lane going to be 1st, Brad Patton is 2nd, and Jacob Fife is in 3rd. Nick Tarbuck, position number 4. Braxton Lewis going to be 5th. Cody Smith, position number 6 on the order. Tom Wetmore 7th, Sam Nieto 8th, and Blake Cannon 9th. Right now, the top 10 going to be very, very calm with 69 laps remaining. A very nice run. Early laps so far. And now coming into our final stage, Ethan Lane is the driver. Finds himself at the top of the board, and he's remained there for quite some time. Cody Smith for Next Level Racing is in 6th, and as always, live on FTN, we'd like to thank the official partner of the Integrity Racing League, Next Level Racing, providing high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information, and we will return to the broadcast here of the Return to Dover 200 live on FTN after a brief message from our partners at Next Level Racing. 64 laps remaining. Ethan Lane at the top of the board, and he finds himself ahead with Brad Patton second, and Ethan Lane now going to find himself right there with lap traffic. Coming down to the final stretch of it, it's going to be a fight for third here. You see Nick Tarbuck looking down under the 36, and it's going to be real close between the both of them here coming out. Like now it's going to be Nick Tarbuck still riding under, but Jacob Pfeiffer a little bit more momentum through the middle of the corner, just enough to come ahead at the stripe. You see Nick Tarbuck is going to be right now just ahead of Braxton Deweese. The two of which battled last night, and while it looks like right now they're both once again at it, it's Tarbuck instead with the advantage. Braxton got the better of them both last night with a second place finish. It was Nick who got it there in fourth. Right now, Nicholas Ward is going to find himself in 11th to Tom Wetmore's 10th. Single file has been the big theme all throughout the night. That is for certain. The 51 machine now finds himself very, very close there with Ward, and even closer to Michael Araya. Araya's had an up and down night, fell back to the bottom of the field, and now is up there in the top 10. Trouble early for the 44 team, but it looks like they picked it back together. Doug Mindorf, Alan's Art Images, thank you for stopping by as well. Great to have you all here. Your favorite driver's doing well. Make sure to let us know in the chat room. Right now, Braxton going to be in 5th. You see further back, Sunhorse going to be 8th. Tom Wetmore rounds out in the top 10. In the single digits, you see Michael Araya holding 4th in 9th. It's been a competitive race from top to bottom, front to back, and these drivers have been on each other all throughout this event here. You can see Michael Araya is going to get right by the lapper. Tom Wetmore is going to spin, and it's trouble for Wetmore. The caution's going to fly. Nick Ward involved as well. Lapper involved with the leading drivers. Caution is out. We got trouble, and the 51 is going to be one of many involved. Yellow flag is out. Taking a look at the trouble, it is Tom Wetmore in the Tube Tech Chevrolet catching a piece. Here's the incident replay, and you'll see it again. It's going to be Wetmore, Michael Araya, and coming off the corner, Steele into the 51. Then it looks like independently, Nick Ward caught a piece as well. Caution's out, and two drivers at the top 10 level have just gotten a piece. As a matter of fact, Steele and Wetmore, who work with each other on the same team, got involved. Caution has flown, and just like that, we got an incident there, catching the wall, and too little room here at Dover. Get involved with any contact, you're soon to be flying down to the bottom. That is exactly what we saw. Minor damage for both drivers. It looks like Nicholas Ward is going to get away as well. There's Ward right now. The 97, he looks to have a little bit of scuffing on him, and the backside particularly, so he'll go down to pit road to fix the problem. It's Brad Patton up in front and Jacob Pfeiffer second. 1-2 at the top of the board now with only 58 laps to go. Brad Patton going to hold Ford up in front now as a result of staying out on pit road. It looks like most other drivers decide to go in, and it's going to be Ethan Lane getting the win off of pit road, quickly making it out in front of Braxton Deweese, Nick Tarbuck, and Cody Smith. Now Matthew Sunhorse is rounding out the top 5 out of pit road, and then from there you see Blake Cannon. John Gearvon is going to be with the leaders here, decide not to go into pit road, so he's going to be getting by. Michael Araya is 11th, Sam Nieto is in 12th, and 13th is Ross Cato. So, with that being said, it looks like it's going to be top 10 included by Cato when we cycle and shuffle everyone out here, because there are 3 drivers we're waiting on. Any of them decide to go in? So far they don't, and I think maybe it's the strategy call to just stay long and keep on going. Few drivers opting to go for a longer strategy here. We'll see whether or not that works out. 39 lap stint so far for Brad Patton. I think he's trying not to waste the tire sets he's got in pit road. The reason being, we have a limit of 5 in this race, and most drivers have gone down for 4 pit stops already, if not more. So definitely you want to save up your rubber here. That limit hasn't come into play for a lot of the races we've seen this season. It is coming into play now. So something we don't see too frequently might be playing into the picture tonight. Now we see it there. Galen Gidman going to be in third. Jacob Fife is in second. Brad Patton is the driver who leads the way. These drivers might be a little bit more conservative for a good reason, because time still to go in this event, and you don't want to burn what you got. Patton is going to lead. Second is Fife. Third is Gidman. The 1-2-3 order hold themselves very firm. Third 9-lap stint, Ethan Lane. Winner off of pit road. He's got the advantage. We'll see how quickly he can get through them, if it is a quick process at all here, because a little bit of a buffer for Patton to work with. Maybe just enough to get by for a few laps. Come across the line again. 1 lap to green. Brad Patton finds himself up at the top side, and Jacob Fife down low. Fife has the advantage in the bottom side. Ethan Lane is going to be up there top, a row back, and we'll see whether or not the new tires can break in quick, because Brad Patton, of course, find himself with a chance to control on the high side. So maybe a little bit of defense we're going to see there rather than full saw. See if Jacob Fife plays in the mix as well. I don't think he's going to do all too much here. Side by side, though, up in front, so if there's an opportunity for him to lead, I'm sure he'll take it. Coming across the stripe, this time by the iRacing official pace car, will lead the field B, and Brad Patton will be the driver in control up top. He's got Ethan Lane behind him, so it's got to be a good start to get away from, of course, the new tire brigade. Green flags out. Lane going to be much quicker, and you can see already checking up with your leader. Patton got the jump, and Lane is going to be boxed out. That looked to be a rapid, quick run out there, as it looks like now we're back on the way with a little bit of trouble already. Everyone's slowing down, the reason being there was a caution, and it was Kyle Cooper, among others, involved. Not much a restart there, just in addition to the caution. Let's find out what happened. Coming across, looks like it might have been a bit of a checkup here, and it looks like, yep, Cooper, Alan Rawell, contact back of the field, and Randy Fiash just barely avoids it. Caution is out. A very small incident, all things considered, but at the very least, we should be able to get back going in a few laps. Yellow flag is out again. 54 laps to go. Don't expect any pit stop shuffling, and so we should be able to keep everyone on the track. And we'll be right back in a few moments, as we'd like to talk about iRacing. For over 15 years here, iRacing presenting a sim racing product which is unparalleled. If you want to join the fun on iRacing, check out their website for discounts of over 40% off for any type of membership, and best place to get into sim racing as a hobby, or if you want to go for leagues, if you even want to go for a professional route. And the NASCAR newsletter is where you can find a little bit more news on how to do just that, with all the information from the leading series in professional sim racing, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and a little bit more insight into how to start your sim racing journey. Check out the eNASCAR newsletter powered by eNASCAR and iRacing. We'd love to have you join the fun on the iRacing platform, and we'll return with about 50 laps to go after a message from iRacing Motorsport Simulations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
52 laps to go, and we'll be coming back at 50 flat. That's the game plan right now, as the leaders are going to get at it once more. Now, Brad Patton held off Ethan Lane for the entirety of that restart for all of 2 corners. Once again, he's slowing it down and getting set to go at it. Another opportunity to get back into the swing of things. Green flag racing waiting just a little bit more for that. A very short sprint from here on out to get to the checkered flag. 100 laps we've gone through so far. We're coming up on the lap 150 marker. And I think with that being said, we've gotten to the point where drivers have to shift their strategies. Even if they thought they had more time previously, these cautions are eating at their strategy calls, and it's going to be a bit different than what we saw previously. Of course, now Patton with a chance to make things work out for him, stretching it a little bit longer and having to worry less about the materials that he's got on pit road, and tire sets limited for certain. He has to come down to pit road again. It'll be a short stint one more time. Now it's Ethan Lane on the bottom groove, and he's got John Steele, the lapper, there as well. Steele, given the get-go, he'll go right around. Just like that, it's the iRacing official pace car once again up ahead. We'll come back with 50 laps to go. Fife in third. You see there, Tarbuck, Gidman, Cody Smith, Matthew Thunhorse, Braxton Louise, Blake Cannon, Michael Araya, many of the usual suspects, and Tom Wetmore, despite being involved in the previous caution, not the most recent one prior. Now he finds himself in a 15th. Gaining. See what else he can do from here as drivers get set to go at it once more. Tom Wetmore in 15th. Right there alongside Don Stevenson and Bobby Ross. Brad Patton has control up in front. Get back at it this time by the number 7 machine. Going to be all the way at the top of the track. Patton with a lot of old rubber, of course. Much older than that of Ethan Lane. That is the worrying part for him. However, Lane wasn't able to get by the previous time around, and maybe this time through he'll have an opportunity. First of which, for the number 54, looks to not go to waste. He's still side by side of the line. Green flags out with 50 laps to go. Patton going to be shuffled up to the top side of that high groove. It is much slower. Ethan Lane gets the jump. He's your race leader. Just like that, he's going to find himself up on top. Nick Tarbuck going to be second, and Matthew Thunhorse then in third. Braxton Lee's position number 4. Right now, right on board Braxton. You'll see what the leaders are doing to get away from the field. Braxton right now going to be right behind the podium and keeping them honest, but not much else so far. He finds himself just ahead of Blake Cannon, but that's going to change as Cannon dives down to the bottom side, and a Swindell Speed Lab, number 27, makes the move. That's good for 4th. Now it's going to be the 27 fighting to get inside of the podium. We'll see whether or not he can do just that here. Matthew Thunhorse just ahead, and these drivers inside of the top 10, with the exception of Tom Wetmore and Brad Patton. They're all on the level playing field in terms of tire. Patton on a much older set, Wetmore on a younger set, and now Tom's going to be coming up and maybe looking for 2 consecutive wins in back-to-back nights. It's Wetmore looking to try to get by Sam Nieto, and Nieto up next on the table. See what he can do here. Sam, the first driver to defend upon the number 51. See there, Braxton Louise shuffled up high. Now, when you get up there on the top side so late in this one, everyone's much more aggressive. It's not going to be easy to make these moves quickly and make the right decisions with the pressure on the line here. So Michael Araya is going to make it a little bit more tricky for the driver of the 13, but the race holds on and will be clear across the stripe. Braxton in 6th. There's Cody Smith in 5th. Matthew Thunnell is going to be position number 4. Single file up in front. Caution's going to fly. The reason being, Alan Rodwell on the wall with 44 laps to go. I think we just saw a flip. Yes, Brian McFerrin is going to be sliding, but up and over, you're going to see, among others, John Steele getting involved, Eli Cars, Jim Fife, and worst of all, Randy Fiash is destroyed. Take a look back first at Randy here. We looked at everyone else. Let's get that full flip first off. Amos, you see by that point, he was already going up and over. Came back on all fours. Look one more time. And Fiash was on his own prior to this. Looks slowed down. Got tipped over by Brian McFerrin and a tornado at Dover, no less. Up and down. And that must have been more than a dozen flips. We'll play that back in slow motion. You can count for yourselves here. Take a look one more time. There's the contact. It's flipped over right there. And he goes up. And that's the first flip you're looking at. And when he gets down, it gets worse. First 360. Not a delicate one by any means. Gets higher. And then goes for the second. We might have to play this a little bit of a higher speed. Get every single flip, and we're already on to the third here, so we're looking at the third. This is flip number 3. Then the fourth of which. Number 5, 6, 7th, and it's a little bit of a struggle to get to this point. Then up and over for the 8th, and coming back down to earth, 9th, and eventually sticks the landing. But the front end and the back destroyed. 9 flips for Randy Fiash by our count, and the caution's out, among others. Fiash going to get destroyed in that one. That's about the most brutal wreck we've seen at this circuit both nights of racing, and Randy Fiash, we've seen a few unexpected flips this season. One of them we're adding to the count, and a barrel roll like that right across the banking. That one got a sting. Caution is out again. And the reason being, multi-car incident. I think it's our biggest multi-car of the day. So it's a little bit trickier now that we're coming down with so little time, and we're getting more and more cautions. Ethan Lane has the lead. But once again, going to be a level playing field, and with the cautions continuing to level out the pack, it's going to be harsh for these drivers, of course, trying to get things settled in. Lane, the number 54, he finds himself now first, Tarbuck in second, Matthew Thunder's third, and Blake Cannon in fourth. Cody Smith rounds out the top 5, and with 41 laps to go this time by, we'd once again like to thank Next Level Racing for their continued support. We're under yellow right now, so we have a little bit of time to once again tell you more about Next Level Racing. As it stands, when it comes to high quality sim racing performance products, there's no other place to go. And since 2023, Next Level Racing has been the official partner Integrity Racing League for all sim racing hardware. Visit nextlevelracing.com to check out their high-quality product lineup and the prices better than anyone else on the market. So when it comes to being in your budget and providing the best experience, Next Level Racing has it covered all in one. We'll be right back after a brief message with 40 laps to go and return with exclusive coverage here from Dover. You're watching the Integrity Octane Series live on FTA. 40 laps remain, and it's now going to be double file once again. Cody Smith up there inside the top 10, but it's Ethan Lane and Nick Tarbuck once again in total control. Tarbuck eyeing the podium after last night being just a tenth of a second off it. Tonight could be a chance for some good redemption as we set ourselves up once more. A green flag is going to fly, and Nick Tarbuck is going to get there, but not nearly as quick as Ethan Lane. Green flag's out once again, and Lane is in control. Nick Tarbuck second. Blake Cannon is going to be right there with, and it's going to be side by side, 2 by 2, and is Cannon. Makes it by to get inside of the podium here. So Matthew Thunderous fades back into fourth. Braxton DeWeese is going to be in fifth, and Cody Smith is in sixth. Seventh, Sam Nieto. Eighth, Bobby Ross. Up in the front of the field, Blake Cannon going to go down to the inside line. He's got there Nick Tarbuck with them. And double file, but negotiation for position so early in this run, because you never know when you're going to get that next caution. Now you got to stay on your toes when most of the field is going to be 2 by 2. Now you see Jacob Fife a little bit of a wiggle there when he's racing against Don Stevenson, but nothing comes of it. And now we're in the point where every driver is going more aggressive than before. Ethan Lane now going to be up on top. Lane right there making it up and down. He's been consistent. Kept that rhythm, and that's what matters. Take a ride on board now with Ethan Lane. You'll watch a lap from inside the leader's cockpit. Lane going to be right now just keeping himself up in front, going through the motions, and when Lane gets up here, it's very, very tricky to get him out of that rhythm. Rhythm is such an important factor in these races, and for Lane, he's been successful more than most other drivers in keeping that rhythm no matter what happens. Cautions, green flags, pit cycles, and everything in between. Ethan Lane's consistency above all else has been the power he's held all throughout the year to just keep on going for race victories no matter what's occurred. Now, coming in and missing 2 races, of course, that's been tricky for him to recover from, but already up inside the fight for the top 2 in points, and tonight, finishing ahead of both Thunhorst and Nick Tarbuck would effectively secure him third in the championship, if not already moving up to second. And Lane, definitely looking for a chance to win the title this year. Had a lot of speed in the previous season, but did not go for a full-time campaign. And now's a chance to show what could have been of last year and what is now. Don Stevenson going to pass Bobby Ross there. That's a quick move for about 12th position. And as such, it's Stevenson who makes another pass. Brad Patton is up in 5th. And right now, right behind Matthew Thunhorst, the number 80 machine, runs across the line and is going to be just ahead of Brad Patton there. Movements back and forth that are getting a little bit tighter here. You see there the number 7 of Patton running right with Thunhorst. It looks like he is not let go. Side by side, there goes the number 7. Quick slide under. Just like that, it's going to be Brad Patton making it by. That's another position good for 4th. Inside the top 5 firmly now, and Blake Cannon will be the next target up next, of course, in 3rd. We'll see whether or not Patton gets back inside the podium. No guarantees right now, and time is slowly but surely running out. Got to pick up the pace, of course, for a guarantee to make up these positions here. You see Cody Smith going to be with number 9 of Galen Gidman. It's neck and neck right now with a lapper of Randy Fiash up on the top side. Fiash goes high, not much coming of it there, and he's just going to slide up to the top. Michael Araya in the number 44 machine opts to stay in the bottom, and I think most others have now. Side by side, though, Smith and Gidman, and Galen gets the pass. That's going to be good for 9th. Cody going to slot back to the final spot inside the top 10, and as such, the Next Level Racing number 18. Well, right now, it all comes down to whether or not he can hang with Gidman and maybe go for a rebound pass in the coming laps. He's a very, very good position to stay right there with. there's much else that can come of it right now unless he gets the ability to pass there. Maybe working with different grooves, finessing as it stands. It looks like he hasn't quite gotten himself up there. Currently, he's 10th and sliding back just a little bit more. Matthew Thunderst in number 80 machine now has the number 44 Lariah all over him, side by side, going again. There's Lariah running deep. Cautions out again with 26 laps to go. Trouble. John Gearvon involved with Tom Wetmore, and Wetmore with substantial damage. Yellow flag's out again, and we're going to take a look back here and figure out what caused it. And it looks like this time by at the middle of the field, maybe even up there in the top 10 fight. Might have been the most up front this battle has gotten. A bit treacherous. Lapper of Fiash involved, and that sends the 51 up top, and Chris Schetzler right there too. And that's Randy Fiash catching a piece of it, and if we look on board with the number 55, maybe was clear at the time it happened. That is a very tricky spot to be in, because if you're that much slower, going down under like that, you're going to lose a lot of speed just making the move. So, for that being said, we look on the back bumper here, Randy Fiash, and you be the judge of that one. The 55 involved with Wetmore and the 24 of Schetzler. Cautions out with 25 remaining. There is the number 55, Honey Nut Cheerios machine. Randy Fiash up top, Ethan Lane leading the way. We'll have just about 20 laps to go when we go back green here. We have gotten to the point of almost no return in regards to strategy. But a few drivers have decided to go down to pit road. Notably, Matthew Thunderst and Blake Cannon, Sam Nieto too. And it looks like now some drivers are going into their final reserve, looking to get that extra material out of the car early, getting tires back on and back to work. You see there, getting off with new rubber. It's Blake Cannon and Matthew Thunderst, 11th and 12th. Sam Nieto additionally comes out in 13th. Miller Lite number 2 makes do getting by, and just like that, there's also Bobby Ross in the mix as well. Ross Cato 16th. Chris Schetzler going to be in 17th here. A few drivers, damage or otherwise, decide to make it into pit road, and now we've got another split in the strategy. Lane has been on an 34-lap run. Looking at the numbers, it's now 34, whereas Brad Patton's on an 18-lap stint. Michael Araya, same goes with 18. Now we got drivers on brand new rubber. Brad Patton might just have the advantage here of all else because he's got a buffer and warmth in the tires, but not too much warmth where the tire wear is egregious. So maybe it's a chance now for Brad Patton to be the man and fight for the race victory. He's got a chance here. Ethan Lane, of course, is up in front, and he's challenging to beat. All comes down to whether or not he makes a mistake. Ethan Lane, as a matter of fact, is not on the track any longer, and the reason for that appears to be just a little bit of a net code error. He's having a little bit of perhaps connection troubles, and he has fallen back substantially here. So Lane from the lead, under yellow, is in jeopardy of being disconnected from the session. You don't see him on track, and that's because nobody sees him on track right now. And I believe Ethan Lane did disconnect from the session. From the lead with 23 laps to go. Yes, Ethan Lane is disconnected, and your leader is going to fall all the way down to the bottom because he's no longer with us in the session. Nick Tarbuck inherits the lead, and Lane no longer effectively with a chance to go for the race victory. Your leader at the line last time by is your first disconnection from this race. And for Lane, that one's got to sting, leading for so long with an opportunity to go for the race victory. Unless we get a caution quick, he's in grave danger here and definitely far out of the shot to go for the race win. So Nick Tarbuck is now effectively the leader. Brad Patton going to be up there in the inside line, and we will see what this comes of. Of course, the number 7 machine of Brad Patton looking down on the inside line, and maybe he'll be the control car as a result. But Lane leaving, his departure being early, has shifted this one up big. With 22 laps to go this time by, we're going to crank it up for the next 2 laps, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. For the best broadcasters, they choose the best cameras, and TrackCams22.com is a no-brainer for the iRacing platform with over 100 car and track options available. Check out TrackCams22.com for iRacing's finest camera service, and TrackCams for gourmets for all your camera needs. With 22 laps to go this time by, let's crank it up from the Monster Mile. "14 laps to go." You saw the replay there. Matthew Thunhorse catches a piece with Tom Wetmore and a few others in the mix just like that. No caution, but we will lose another competitor up in front. Blake Cannon is all of a sudden the driver leading the way, and he's got it there, the 27 ahead by a second. Just like that, Michael Araya up in front. He's got the race lead, and he's there. Of course, you see Sam Nieto, Blake Cannon right there too. Everyone fighting tight. It is by no means going to be easy from here on out. We'll see who's got what it takes to succeed. But for now, the big problem is, what's it going to be for the rest of the field, of course? Blake Cannon, he is just about set, but everyone else is still fighting thick. You see there, Jacob Fife is going to go right up high. And there you go, Jacob Fife all the way up to the top side once again. Now going to be 3 wide with Kyle Cooper there beating him, begging. They're going to be shoving each other out of 2, making 4 wide with Tom Wetmore, and you got much more a problem than ever before. Luckily, they keep it straight, and they stay 3 wide. Nick Tarbuck going to see Kyle Cooper wiggle up. Everyone keeps it together, but they're in the wall again, and trouble nearly going to come of it. Fife is slow. They dodge him and weave it out the way. That could have been much, much, much worse. Luckily, of course, the field keeps it straight, but that could have been a huge issue. And as such, now going to be the 18 machine of Cody Smith getting by. 11 laps to go here. We're going to bring you your final Next Level Racing promotional break. We're coming down to the final stretch, and the rest of the action will be interruption-free. We're going to bring you your final words from our friends at Next Level Racing. Blake Cannon up in front here with 8 laps to go. We mentioned early in the broadcast how this number 27 crew was due for a race victory eventually, and it looks like tonight might just be the chance for him to break out. In what has been only a 5-race campaign so far, Cannon has proven to be one of the top drivers in this league ever since his first race, and of course Mitch Fortune finding the way to Ethan Lane and Matthew Thunhorse, but takes a lot to stay available throughout the race, and for a driver, their best ability is availability. And as such, it's the 27 now leading the way, and he's gotten through up in the front of the field. As such, Cannon able to inherit everything he requires to fight for the checkered flag, and he's there with 6 laps to go as your race leader. Chris Schetzler going to be inside the top 5 for the first time this season. Chris makes the move by Michael O'Raya, his best race so far in 2024. And Chris running well so far. Had a podium last season, we remember that. Of course, this Yoo-Hoo 24 standing out in the Gen 4. Same paint scheme, and it looks like now looking for a very good result. Not bad in the slightest so far for Chris, doing a great job of keeping things together. And the late stage of this race, as it stands, he's going to be right there with Blake Cannon leading the way. 5 laps to go. It's now going to come down to Cannon keeping it straight. That will make all the difference. In the return to Dover 200, Blake Cannon has not been the dominant driver by any means, but it's been all about the finesse of strategy and making it there when it matters most. As it stands, you see a driver like Blake Cannon making moves, coming around with 20 laps on this stint. He understands exactly what it's taken to get to this point and fight for position consistently. Now, taking that next step, moving it up to the next level, and finding the opportunity for victory, it's always a different thing. But it takes a lot to get to that first point, and this could be the first of many to go. For a lot of these drivers, the first win has the most pressure and the highest stakes surrounding it. So for Cannon, this will be huge if he were to get it all done. Bobby Ross, despite being involved in his own incident much earlier in this race, is inside the podium, and with popsicle sticks out, 2 laps to go, we'll see whether or not he even stays inside the top 3. Chris Schetzler is coming in hot. We've got one spot dedicated to the underdogs tonight, and it might go to Ross, might go to Schetzler, but for the number 27 of Blake Cannon, he's only got 1 more lap to go. The rookie comes across the line to take the white flag here in Dover, and it looks like we'll have 2 unique winners across Dover week. Blake Cannon, the kid in the number 27 who came onto the scene and fought for the victory immediately in his first ever start. He's had to wait a few more than he'd like, but coming off of turns 3 and 4 this time by the Swindell Speed Labs Chevy Impala takes the checkered flag. Blake Cannon wins in Dover, and his first career victory comes all down to strategy, playing the restart game right, and avoiding the late race chaos. Yetto second, Chris Schetzler third. Blake Cannon will come through and get spun immediately. Sam Nieto gets right by him and kicking off the burnout quick. The Swindell Speed Lab 27 gonna come across the line and keep the celebration moving. Blake Cannon still going to be burning it down. Bobby Ross was in position to keep celebrating too. And you see now coming back to the stripe, Cannon, he's going to finish off his celebration here at the start-finish line. And that he does. Checkered flag is out for the number 27. Blake Cannon will pull through and get the win here in Dover. How about that performance for the number 27 team, getting it done and a first career victory to remember. Blake Cannon is going to win over Sam Nieto in second and Chris Schetzler in third, with fourth place then and there being occupied by Bobby Ross. Very close battle between Schetzler and Ross at the end of it. Chris had the speed and he made it through to round out the podium. Now, Michael Araya going to come home in fifth, and Brad Patton going to be sixth, with Kyle Cooper seventh, eighth being Galen Gidman, and Nick Turba coming home in ninth. To round out the top 10, that's Cody Smith, and he comes through 14 seconds back of your leader. Then from there, it's going to be Don Stevenson in 11th and John Girvon in 12th, with 13th then being Nicholas Ward, Ross Cato being 14th, and 15th place being Jacob Fife. Braxton DeWeese comes home in position number 16, and then from there, you see Brian McFerrin 17th, Bobby Terrell 18th, and Tom Wetmore 19th, with Matt Jonas rounding out the top 20. 21st then and there is going to go right then Randy Fiash, and 22nd is then John Steele, with 23rd Matthew Thunhorst. Ethan Lane disconnects late from the lead, and he comes home in 25th, with Alan Rawell 26th and Jim Fife 27th and last. Just like that, Blake Cannon is a winner for the first time in his Octane Series career. And here at Dover, it became more about survival of the fittest. Clearly tonight, it looks like it was Blake Cannon, the fittest of all, to come home with the checkered flag. Now, Cannon will get him with us right now. Race winner here from Dover. And tonight, the Monster Mile threw some curveballs. And it looks like for Blake Cannon, he got exactly what he needed at the end of the day. Attrition mixed with cautions and restarts galore give way to a victory here at the Monster Mile, long awaited for the number 27 team. How does it feel getting the win here in the Integrity Octane Series?
Man, it feels good. I felt like I've given about 3 races away just on pit strategy. I thought when I missed the pits after the second pit stop, I thought I gave it away again. But man, what a race! I just had to save that last set of tires just in case. So I pushed everybody around me who didn't have tires left. I pushed them as hard as they could, and then just got lucky with the caution.
And it looks like the caution's coming out at opportune times and really shifting up the strategy tonight. What was it like having to deal with all those changes, the ups and downs? It was definitely a much different race from the first half to the second half. It looks like this team was alive for both of them, but really came through strong in the final half of this.
Yeah, I really felt like the first half of the race I was fairly decent. Saving tires on the first run really didn't go the way I planned. I mean, I ended up third after the cycle finished the way it was going to, but I didn't feel as good as I needed to be. So, and then once I missed pit road, I was just kind of stuck. I was just on the opposite end of the strategy the whole rest of the race. So, luckily the cautions helped me. Usually when it gets late in the race here, cautions breed cautions. So I knew once we had that late caution with about 25 to go, and I was able to put the fresh set of tires on, I knew that it wasn't going to take long for me to get up there. So I just had to be smart, keep my nose clean, and make as good as passes as I could have.
And it looks like making the right passes at the right time, and those final 20 laps were all yours. Checkered flag coming tonight for the 27 team. We've seen this team slowly but surely build up to already be a top contender in the Octane Series. Now, from here, Kansas is up next. We saw you come around here for the first time at the intermediate circuits, and we've seen that, of course, much like a lot of other top contenders, very quick everywhere. So maybe a chance to keep going for a little bit more when it comes to further success and maybe victory lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. The first race was Chicagoland. Really, I didn't have any expectations. I was honestly just worried about running top 10, and then I go out there and I was leading laps and was really, really fast, had great pace, and kind of got off strategy with everybody else, and it actually worked out. And then I screwed myself again in the same race. So in the same race at Chicagoland, I gave the race away like 3 times. So, And then every week after that, it's just been. I honestly thought it was going to be easier after Chicagoland because I had such good pace. And man, every week after this, it's just been a struggle. I mean, I struggled at Richmond, just making bonehead mistakes, and then we were really good at Texas, just the bad in the strategy. I was really good at. I think it was IRP. I just ended up third. I mean, third or fourth. So I've had a lot of pace. I gotta dial in the pit strategy and just make sure I stay on top of that throughout the races. But definitely Kansas is one to look forward to. I haven't ran much there in the Gen 4 car, but I'm excited as always.
We're hoping to see a lot more of this 27 team. A first victory to remember here, collecting the checkered flag in the Monster Mile. Blake Cannon, if you have any final shout-outs to make, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man, I just like to thank Jacob. You know, I've ran this league for a long time and was out of it for quite a while. And dude, I've had so much fun being back with a lot of these guys that I remember back in the day. And it's definitely changed, getting older and maturing, the sim changing. But this series is one of the best to race with, and you've got such great competition. I mean, there's about 5 or 10 guys that I would put up against anybody out there. So I got to thank Jacob and everybody at Integrity Racing League, and just thanks for you guys for doing the broadcast, and just got to keep the momentum rolling.
Looking to get that momentum from here and keep going through the rest of the month and maybe more. Blake Cannon collecting the checkered flag tonight. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Blake Cannon on the move. Checkered flag goes to the 27. Tonight, Sam Nieto finishes in second, and overall, it was an up-and-down race for this number 2 team. You may have remembered that started on pole position, but strategy didn't look to be too friendly to this crew early in the race, falling back outside the top 15, going longer in the first pit cycle, and getting caught in an alternate strategy. But with so many yellows at the end, everything leveled out, and Sam, you finished second tonight here, runner-up in a very tricky and tumultuous Dover event.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, the first run plan was just to make it to lap 70. I think I made it to 71 or 72. Gonna try to two-stop it. So next stop was probably gonna be 140. But with probably 5 laps before I pitted, I decided I was gonna clutch and save an extra lap, and that's what kept me from pitting right as the caution was coming out. Otherwise I'd been ducking down pit road right as that wreck was happening. So it worked out in my favor. It saved me an extra set of tires, which I needed because I was just god awful. I was slow. I'm so slow in this car, slow on this track. I don't know what the deal is, but yes, I was the P2 out of it with probably a 12th place car.
It looks like strategy, big redemption when it came down to the later portion of this race. We expected maybe to see a little bit more of that green flag action early on, but the second half, a little bit of a switch up there. What was it like responding and reacting to all that we saw on the circuit today as everything definitely changed as the race progressed?
I don't know. Like I said, the first run, I was just on cruise control. Wasn't trying to race anybody. Just saving as much fuel as it possibly could. It's a long way. 70 laps is a long way. It's a lot of fuel to save. So, but when it was time to go, I didn't really have anything. I was burning up my right front, trying to keep up with those guys that weren't burning up their tires and were still fast. So, I was a roadblock a lot of the race. Then instead, I just got lucky with having an extra set of tires. And the question with me and my teammate Michael, whenever he took his last second, I decided I was going to stay out and hope for another caution. That was my only chance of winning. But Blake did that strategy also, and he was faster than me, so he won. But I gave her hell there the last 20 laps trying to catch him, and if I would have saved my tires a little bit, I probably would have ran faster. I don't know if I would have caught him, and even if I caught him, I don't know if I could have passed him, but it was fun.
All things considered, a very successful run for the number 2 team before we move on to Tornado Alley. Kansas coming up next and get another chance to go back down to the intermediates after a trip to Dover. Got any high hopes about going back down to the mile and a halves?
I'd like to say yes, but I'll probably burn my right front off before I even get there. So I don't know. We'll see what we can do. Come into practice a little bit early, and whenever the session goes up, and see if I can figure out a way to not burn up the right front.
We'll figure out what's next in store for the number 2 crew next week. Sam Nieto, second on the day. If you have any final shout-outs, make sure to let us know.
Yeah, I think IRL, Jacob putting on the league, Adams do a pretty good job. Teammate Michael, we were working together on strategy. Well, it was his strategy. I just stole it. So thank you, Michael, for the strategy. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for putting it on the broadcast.
Just like that, Sam Nieto, runner-up on the day here in the Monster Mile. We thank you for your time.
All right, thanks. Have a good evening.
And a podium most unexpected for Chris Schutzler in the number 24. Perhaps one of our more surprising podium finishes. It came down to he and Bobby Ross at the very end, and it was a battle that we didn't see coming until the final 10-15 laps. But for Chris, pace came in very late, and a podium finish for the first time this season. Checkered flag flies and top 3. How about that for this 24 crew?
Yeah, that race was it was a lot of fun. We were pretty much in the back all night long. We could not find any grip on the corner exits. And we're able to play a little bit of strategy, get some laps back during the race, and save a set of tires, which got us up to the front.
It looks like waiting for the long haul today worked out pretty well. 5 tire sets, so we had a limit, and by about 150 laps in, most drivers had gone through at least 4 of them, it looked like. So saving seemed to be the best way to go for this crew, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, when I saw those guys pit with 50 to go, I said, I'm not going to pit. I'm going to stay out and just gamble. I was running, I think, 17th or 18th at the time. And I'm terrible at saving tires. I burn them up. So I figured, what the hell? I'm going to save the set and see what happens. And maybe I'll get lucky, be able to pit in 20 laps and beat them on new tires. And fortunately, that's exactly what happened.
It looks like working it out, getting the tires ready at the right time. And we noticed one thing about this race. The cautions coming in very late, shifting up the strategy. Was there ever a point in specific where you realized there was a chance to make the charge up in the final stretch?
Yeah, I started to notice that the car handling was changing as the race was going on. We were getting more grip in the center, and guys were driving it in a lot deeper at that point. So I thought it was only a matter of time before we were going to start seeing people getting a lot more aggressive. For the first 100 laps, everybody took it easy, didn't overdrive the cars, saved a lot. But after we hit the halfway point, track started to grip up. People started to get aggressive, and figured it was probably only a matter of time before we started seeing more caution.
It looks like everything working out just right for a top 3. The call tonight, pulling through for a podium. Next up, it's going to be the Kansas Speedway. It's going to be, once again, an intermediate. We've seen quite a few to this point. Maybe an opportunity to continue some success that we see from here.
Yeah, I love the intermediate tracks. I wish, unfortunately, I could run more of them on a part-time schedule this year. So trying to take advantage of every opportunity that I get behind the wheel. So looking forward to it. Hopefully, I like the high line there, and hopefully we can come away with another podium.
And it looks like looking forward to the top side next week. Everything working out tonight for a podium finish here in Dover. If you have any final shout-outs to make sure to let us know.
Absolutely. Just shout out to all the admins of the league and all the sponsors of the league. Thank you for everything you do each and every week, and look forward to seeing you guys next.
Just like that, Chris Schutzler coming through for his first podium of the season. We thank you for your time.
Hey, real quick, I want to send a shout out to you also, because you're about the only person I've ever met that can pronounce my name right the first try, and I appreciate that.
Oh, is that so? It's right on iRacing. I'm not sure if there's a problem there. If they can't read it, it's right in the screen for everyone to see. With that being said, we appreciate the comment. I've experienced that in my life as well.
Have a good one, guys.
Great to have you around. Thank you. Chris Schutzler on the move, and one other thing, Bobby Ross is with us in 4th in the waiting room right now. Let's get the 45 with us, and for Bobby, caution involving the number 45 crew, 50 laps prior to this, 4th place finish, a fight for the podium, and the best result so far for this crew. Bobby, how you feeling?
Oh my gosh, David, I feel ecstatic right now. First off, a huge shout out to Chris for racing hard and clean with me on that last lap. I was because this is my first top 5 of the whole season. Just being involved in bad luck one way or another. But man, I may not have gotten first place. This feels like a win tonight.
And a huge performance for this crew, getting it done and making it through what was a very tricky race, all things considered, seeing the strategy and such come down to quite a few cautions. So what was it like navigating the trouble, knowing you were indeed part of it just a few laps prior to the end?
Oh man, it was just nerve wracking because throughout that whole race, the first thought was just manage the tires the best you can. And for the most part, I think I nailed that pretty well. And but to be honest, I thought my race was over. I think it was on lap 50 or lap 60 when I accidentally got bumped from behind, and here I'm about to be a lap down. But I was able to save tires. I was able to save one more set for the end, and just it paid off in the end. And then it's just so happy right now.
It looks like everything paying off for a first top 5 campaign so far with this 45 crew. We saw a pair of which I believe last year, and getting it earlier this time around. And looks like Dover treating you well this time through. Up next, it's going to be Kansas, and we've been on a streak of some somewhat chaotic races here in the Octane Series, and it looks like you're benefiting from some of the action. Maybe a chance to go for a little bit more next time by.
Hey, as long as I'm the one that benefits and not gets taken out, hey, go for it, right?
100% certain of that. Well, Bobby Ross, 4th on the day here. If you have any final shout-outs to make, the floor is yours.
Yes, I'd like to say a huge shout out to my brother Michael, my mom Vicky. I want to shout out to some good friends, JP, Elliot, Phoenix, Ghost, Christine, John, Lewis, and everyone else that I told about the race tonight. Thank you so much for watching tonight. You guys are amazing and supporting me with whatever I do, either real life or virtual. And of course, David, thank you so much for broadcasting these races. You do a fantastic job.
Bobby Ross, we thank you for stopping by once again. The number 45 machine pulls through and collects the checkered flag tonight. Thank you for stopping by.
You're welcome, David. Shake and bake.
Ross on the move, that's a word from your top 4 drivers in tonight's event, top 3 of which composed of Chris Schetzler in 3rd, Sam Nieto 2nd, and Blake Cannon top of the board in the number 27 first career victory for Cannon. An exciting day for that crew. We saw a few firsts when it comes to this week of racing. Dover week. It's over. Just like that, we're moving on, and next up we've got the Tornado Alley. Keep your eyes peeled for the Kansas Speedway up next, because you've been watching from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. We thank you all for watching tonight's coverage live on FTN. This has been coverage exclusively from the Dover Motor Speedway in the virtual realm. You're watching the Integrity Octane Series live exclusively on FTN. Fireball Talks NASCAR live, and I've been your host all throughout. I'm David Kreutz, commentator and producer. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you all for stopping by once more to watch the return of Dover 200. Hope you have a fantastic night.